Hello and welcome to this episode of the Recruitment Podcast, where we celebrate academic recruitment and bring education to everyone. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's on the minds of a lot of university leaders, building a more diverse faculty.
Yeah, attracting and retaining diverse faculty is a key concern in higher education today. And for those of you in HR and recruitment, it's probably something you're already dealing with every day.
Exactly. We're going to be exploring what actually works based on the experiences of a diversity officer at Adelphi University. So let's dive in. A lot of universities say they struggle to diversify their faculty. They say diverse candidates are just not out there. But our source really challenges that, suggesting it's more about how you search.
Yeah, the source emphasizes active searching as a crucial solution. Instead of just waiting for people to apply, universities need to be more proactive in finding and attracting diverse talent.
It makes you wonder if maybe we've been fishing in the same pond for too long.
Oh, Adelphi's success is a pretty compelling case. They were able to significantly increase the percentage of newly hired faculty of color.
Okay, so give us the numbers. What kind of increase are we talking about?
They went from 27% in 2013-2014 to 45% in 2016 to 2017, which suggests that they are doing something different and it's working.
Wow, that's a huge jump. Clearly they're onto something. What's the secret sauce?
Well, the source points to intentionality at every stage of the search process. And it starts with collaboration across the campus. Search committees, the provost's office, HR, professional associations, everyone needs to be on board with this goal of diversifying the faculty.
That makes sense. It can't just be one department's pet project.
Exactly. They've also implemented a fascinating strategy to address implicit bias, which we know plays a role in, all hiring decisions. At Adelphi, search committee members take Harvard implicit bias tests before they even begin reviewing applications.
That's interesting. Have they actually seen any kind of measurable impact from that?
Well, the source doesn't delve into specific data, but the underlying principle is really powerful. It encourages self-reflection and helps individuals become aware of their own unconscious biases. And this awareness is critical for fairer hiring practices.
It sounds like they're really trying to change the mindset of the people making these hiring decisions.
Absolutely. Another key aspect is challenging those often unspoken assumptions about what makes a good candidate. During orientation, search committees are encouraged to avoid those common myths about diverse candidates not being available. They're also pushed to reassess how they define quality and rigor.
I'm guessing those definitions can sometimes be unintentionally exclusive.
Exactly. It's about broadening perspective and recognizing that diverse experiences and areas of expertise bring immense value. And to get an even wider view, they encourage committees to seek input from colleagues outside their own department.
So it's not just about looking inward, but outward as well. I like that. What about before the search even begins? Are there any strategies they use at that stage?
Yes, the source outlines some interesting pre-search recruitment strategies. One is reaching out to diverse chapters within professional associations. It's a way to tap into a much wider pool of potential candidates who might not be on the usual radar.
Makes sense. It's like going directly to the source instead of hoping the right people happen to stumble across your job posting.
Exactly. Another strategy is building relationships with doctoral programs that have more students of color, like historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs.
So instead of just focusing on the same handful of institutions, they're actively seeking out talent from a more diverse range of programs.
Precisely. They're also exploring cluster hires, which might be a newer concept for some of our listeners. This means hiring groups of faculty, maybe even across different departments, or couples who both work in academia, especially early in their careers.
I imagine that could be really appealing for diverse candidates. That sense of community can make a big difference.
Yes, and it can help create a more vibrant intellectual environment on campus, which ultimately benefits everyone. It's a really smart approach. But, bringing in diverse faculty is only half the battle. The source points out that institutions can actually end up losing these talented individuals because of a lack of support and engagement.
You're absolutely right. What good is attracting amazing people if they don't feel valued and they end up leaving?
This is especially true at predominantly white institutions. Diverse faculty often face challenges that their colleagues might not, like being assigned less desirable courses, or having their scholarship devalued, or not getting the same level of research support, or even experiencing microaggressions in their daily interactions.
Yeah, it's a stark reminder that good intentions only go so far. You have to back them up with concrete actions.
Exactly. Retention requires just as much intentionality as recruitment. Adelphi has implemented a couple of interesting initiatives to address these challenges head on.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
One is called Conversations on Race. It brings together faculty, staff, and administrators to really grapple with these race-related challenges in both hiring and retention.
It sounds like they're really trying to create a space for open and honest dialogue.
That's the key. It's about fostering a more inclusive campus culture.
Hmm.
And that can't happen without acknowledging and addressing these difficult issues.
So creating a space where people feel comfortable speaking their minds, even if it's about uncomfortable topics.
Right. And they've also established the Faculty of Color Network. This is a multiracial network, and it focuses on engaging faculty of color, especially new hires, and making them feel like they truly belong.
What kinds of things does this network do?
They do everything from organizing social gatherings to facilitating research collaborations
Mm.
to offering peer mentoring and even research writing workshops. It's all about creating that sense of community and providing tangible support.
It sounds like a fantastic way to make sure new faculty feel welcomed and connected right from the start. So far we've mainly been focusing on race and ethnicity, but Adelphi's commitment to diversity goes beyond that, right?
That's an important point. The source highlights that Adelphi also has specific initiatives in place to support their LGBTQ plus faculty.
I'd love to hear more about that.
They have an LGBTQ task force and an LGBTQ and allies committee, both working to create a more inclusive environment for this community. They address things like policy concerns and organize a range of programming initiatives.
And how successful have they been?
Well, Adelphi actually has a high ranking on the National Pride Index, which measures LGBTQ plus inclusion in higher education. And there's even an anecdote in the source about an openly gay faculty member who was initially unsure about joining Adelphi, but was swayed by the permanent pride banner outside the university center.
That's a powerful story. Sometimes it's those small but visible signs of inclusion that can really make a difference.
It sends a message that you're not just tolerated, you're celebrated.
Absolutely. And while the source primarily focuses on Adelphi's work, it's clear that similar efforts are happening across the country to support other underrepresented groups, whether it's international faculty, veterans, people with disabilities, or others.
It's about recognizing that diversity isn't a one-size-fits-all concept. It encompasses a wide range of identities and experiences, and each group may face unique challenges and require different types of support.
So if we were to distill this down to some key takeaways for our listeners,
Yep.
who work in higher education recruitment and HR, what would you say are the most important points?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is the need for intentionality in every aspect of this work, from recruitment to retention. It's not enough to just pay lip service to diversity. You have to have concrete strategies in place.
Yeah, it really highlights how diversity and inclusion can't just be a checkbox for universities. It has to be woven into the fabric of how they operate.
Exactly. And it's not just about doing the right thing. It's also about making sure the universities are preparing their students for success. In a world that is increasingly diverse and interconnected.
That's a really good point. It's not just an ethical imperative, it's a practical one as well.
Right, and thinking about the practical side of things, we know there's a growing focus on student success and completion rates, especially for students from underrepresented backgrounds.
Right. And having a more diverse faculty can play a big role in supporting those efforts.
Absolutely. Students from underrepresented groups often thrive when they have faculty members who look like them and who can relate to their experiences. It helps them feel more connected to the university and more supported in their academic journey.
So it's a win-win. A diverse faculty benefits the students and the institution as a whole.
Exactly. It's an investment worth making, but it does require ongoing commitment and attention from everyone involved.
Yeah, you're right. It's not a one-time fix.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to our listeners who are working in higher ed recruitment and HR? What should they be focusing on?
I think the most important thing is to make diversity and inclusion a top priority at every level of the institution. It can't just be the responsibility of the diversity officer or the HR department. Everyone needs to be invested in this work.
So it's about creating a culture of inclusion, not just a set of policies.
Right, and be proactive. Don't just wait for diverse candidates to come to you. Go out and find them. Build those relationships with HBCUs and other institutions that serve diverse populations.
And once you've hired them, you have to create an environment where they can thrive.
That's crucial for retention. Make sure they feel supported, valued, and respected. Don't be afraid to experiment with different approaches and strategies. What works at one university might not work at another. So be open to learning and adapting.
And most important, I think, is to listen to the voices of faculty and staff from underrepresented groups. They're the ones who know best what needs to change and what kind of support would be most meaningful.
I completely agree. Their lived experiences are invaluable. Be open to feedback, be willing to learn, and be committed to making your institution a more welcoming and inclusive place for everyone.
It's a journey, not a destination, right?
Absolutely. There's always more we can be doing. But I think Adelphi's experience offers some great inspiration and some practical strategies that our listeners can adapt for their own institutions.
Definitely. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. I know I've learned a lot. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. And remember, if you're looking to make a difference in higher education, you can find a wide range of jobs in your field at academicjobs.com.
That's right. From faculty positions to administrative roles, academicjobs.com has something for everyone who's passionate about education. Thanks for listening to the Recruitment Podcast.
Until next time.